playoffs, and we've had a perfect season so far. But perfect season does not matter. It's you have to like pull through in playoffs, right? Because if you're out of playoffs, it doesn't matter if you finish the season with all wins or all losses. Well, I mean, all losses you won't make playoffs, but you get my point. So, and I'm going up against a very offensive team. So, I don't know what to do. I brought a defensive Victini, so that's what I was going to lead, and yeah. He goes for U-turn as I go for Thunder Wave, right? Because it's a defensive Victini. I want to paralyze his Victini. I think that's really important. And then I go for Blue Flare. I don't know why he goes into Feral Thorn, but like, I'll take it. It's a pretty important Mongon. And then here, I go into Cryogonal, right? But the play here, I should have realized that Victini in this game, after Feral Thorn is gone, is actually not that useful. And I really want damage on the King. So I should have just went for a Blue Flare there and got off a lot of damage onto the King. But instead I go into Cryogonal. He makes a really good play and goes for Flamethrower. Now, again, this was also another mistake. I should have gone to Kyurem, right? And the reason is because I need Cryogonal to beat the Galarian Moltres, whereas Kyurem is not as useful in this game. It's more like, it does really well in the right position, but I don't need Kyurem to win the game. So this was a mistake, and he predicts it, so like whatever. So I made like a really bad play, and then I go for Freeze Dry. Yeah, so basically I expected him to stay in, and then if he flamethrowers, I can just weaken Nidoking because I realized I made the mistake. But he goes in, of course, a good play, right? And now he's weak in Cryogonal, which is really bad because Galarian Moltres can nasty plot and really damage my team. And then he goes for Whirlpool. I go into Milotic, right? I get Flame Orb off, and then I can't even Toxic, and then I Toxic, and then he goes for Rocks, right? So now I really want to remove Rocks, but I really don't have, like, against his offensive team, I really don't have the opportunity to. That means Victini's kind of useless now. I mean, Kyurem has Boots, but like, yeah. And then, yeah, Corsola, and I just go for some recover spam until that's gone. And then he goes into Urshifu, so I go straight into Slurpuff, right? Because that's my Urshifu switch in. And how much was Milotic's at 62.3. At this point, I didn't know if Urshifu was banded or not. And if it was banded, it two-shots Milotic. So I can't keep in Milotic. So I go into Slurpuff, and he's not banded. He's just I should have done the calc here and should have realized that he was Black Glasses. But, mistake here. And then he goes for U-turn. And I'll tell you why. The black glasses on Urshifu actually comes in really important in the next game. So then he U-turns into Victini as I get up sticky webs, and now he really has no way to remove them. And since this Victini, if he has to have one scarf out of these three, right? And that means that Zero Aura will be faster and everything, so I should be fine. And again, this is why early on I should have just blue flared the Nidoking because that opens up Zero Aura so well. Because if Ferrothorn is gone, right, and then Nidoking is like weakened, right, then knockoff from Zero will knock it out, and then I can pretty much sweep his entire team with a little bit of damage on Moltres. And Moltres I can just knock off and then go for Plasma Fist, and it should be fine. Because he's a really good VGC player, and he runs weakness policy Moltres like the most common set that was run in Series 7, so he could still have it. So I go for Wish here, and then I pivot into Milotic. And I couldn't go into Cryogonal, right? And Cryogonal is the optimal matchup against Moltres, but now I really have to stay in a toxic Moltres, and the reason is because if he gets a flinch and knocks out Cryogonal, like if he goes for Nasty Plot on my switch into Cryogonal and then gets a flinch, I'm in a lot of trouble. So yeah. So then I go for what do I go for? I go for Toxic, right? He doesn't flinch, like, whatever. That's good, right? Because Fiery Wrath can flinch, and then he goes for Nasty Plus, I go for Recover. And now I can Haze. Hopefully he doesn't flinch. But now he should be in Zera range. As I Haze, don't get flinched. Yeah. And at this point, Zera has a really good matchup into his team. So yeah, I just go for Recover as he gets more weakened, and then I just go for Recovers again. Actually, no, I go into Slurp. So the reason I sack off Slurpuff here is because Slurpuff isn't really useful in this game. I wanted to rack up more toxic damage and get a Kyurem in, right? Or no, I wanted to get Zero Aura in. Yeah, as he goes for Nasty Plug, but this doesn't matter at all, right? Because next turn he's already dead. So I sacked, and I wanted to keep Milotic a bit healthy for Urshifu. And then he goes into Victini as I go into my own Victini. As I take Rocks again because I weakened Cryogonal and I wasn't able to defog. And then I go for Thunder Wave. Most optimal play. And then, do I go straight into Milotic? Yeah, because I take 2 Fusion Bolts. As he goes into King, and at this point, what do? I think I go Kyurem, right? Oh no, I sack off Victini, because I really don't need Victini anymore. Yeah. Because I also wanted to save a Will-O-Wisp for later. And then, yeah, I go into Kyurem as I just freeze dry because I need a damage off. And this thing doesn't even two-shot, so yeah. And then I just freeze dry again. And now Victini, I mean, I have Shadow Ball, right? So I can stall this thing out of V-Crit. So I go for sub. Again, I'm pressure stalling him. Then we go for sub. And now I don't know if he's in Shadow Ball range, so I just go for Roost. I calc this, it doesn't even, yeah, it doesn't even do that much. So then I'm like, I can pressure stall this and get behind a sub and then get off a freeze dry into Shifu, but he crits. So now I'm like, I have to Shadow Ball. And a really good play on his end would have been to switch into Shifu and then go for Sucker Punch because I'm never gonna roost on Shifu. I'm always gonna freeze dry. Like when there's like a 50-50 like that, I usually just go to one play and stick to it unless I know my opponent's gonna go for something else. So now we just going to Zera. Even he can't even if, like yeah, Sucker Punch. Even if it crit, it didn't matter. And then we go for close combat, and that game's over. So game one went okay, right? Like we made some bad plays, but luckily we pulled through. Now let's go to game two. Again, I lead Victini, as I thought he was going to lead Shifu expecting Victini, and I can just get a Will-O-Wisp off, and this is Victory Star boosted Will-O-Wisp, so it's actually 94% accurate, and we still miss, so, what can you do? And then go for Wicked Blow, and here here I should have just gone for Blue Flare expecting Nidoking, but then, also the other reason I should have gone for Blue Flare here is because he's never going to Sucker Punch, because he knows I have Will-O-Wisp, and if I get enough damage on this, then Zera can knock it out with close combat, and Blue Fly's a 20% chance to burn, and it hits his team pretty hard, so it was overall the most optimal play. As I go for Thunder Wave into Corsola, right, and then I go for U-turn, and then what do I go out into? I go into Slurpuff, why? Like, Milotic was always the most optimal play, right, because you want to get off the Flame Orb. I mean, I want to get up Webs early, but I don't think it's that important in terms of getting off the Flame Orb, so yeah, I go for Webs, and here the issue is that, when I switch in Slurpuff, I thought I can just Wish Stall it, right? And then just switch out, but I can't. And Slurpuff I have Flamethrower on Slurpuff to catch Ferrothorn off guard, and now this is a problem. Because he has Rocks up, and Victini's weakened, and Slurpuff is gone, so my answers to Ferrothorn are pretty much like... Ferrothorn's really hard to deal with. I mean, Kyurem can pressure stall it, I can burn it with Milotic, but like, it's gonna be harder. So then I realize a mistake, I go into Milotic and play Slurpuff as a sack, right? Yeah. So I use that Wish there. And then I go back into Slurpuff. Wait, why? Wait, I can just Scald this. Wait, why do I sack off Slurpuff for no reason? Like, what do I bring in here? Am I trying to get a sub off with Kyurem? But why would I get a sub off with Kyurem when he has a weakness policy mold trace that just beats it? Yeah, that was a terrible play. As he doubles into Ferrothorn. So we get in Victini, but like, Victini's pretty much gone. And now he can just pivot back into Corsola. So that was a terrible play. Wait, but then I had Milotic and I go into Slurpuff and then he pivots out into... Oh, he pivots out into Ferrothorn. Yeah, if I burn the Ferrothorn there, I can just keep scalding. Eventually I'll burn and then Kyurem beats Ferrothorn. Terrible play. And then I go for a Blue Flare. That does absolutely nothing. And then he's put us on the back foot. And now this game's really up to Zera. I have to weaken these two though. And like, I didn't use my chances well. So now I have to get a sub up with Kyurem to put myself in a favorable position. But like, I waste a few roosts, and now I get off a sub, and here I can Shadow Ball. Now I'm behind a sub. Let's see what he goes into. He goes into Ferrothorn, and the problem is, so, I didn't think he was going to run Body Press, and if he runs Gyro Ball, I can just pressure stall him out of Gyro Ball, right? But he has Body Press. I mean, he lead seats first, probably expecting a switch, right? So I freeze strike. I'm like, I can freeze this thing. Also, I should have calced for what kind of spread this is, but I didn't, and I still haven't calced yet, so whatever. And then I go into Milotic here because I'm like, I need to burn this thing. Like, there's nothing else I can do. Yeah, so I go for Scald. Do I get the burn? I don't. And he goes for Explosion. And the smart play here is that if he Explosions, he puts me in Urshifu range, but he puts me at a 36%, right? And I didn't do the calcs before, so I didn't know that Urshifu was Black Glasses, but I assumed he was just I just assumed he was like no item or something. Not no item, right? But I didn't assume he was like a dark type boosting item. And just a regular Wicked Blow into Milotic doesn't kill, but a Black Glasses Wicked Blow kills. And I thought it wouldn't kill, right? Because I didn't know he had Black Glasses, and now he knocks out Milotic. And that puts us in a terrible position. So then we have to go Cryogonal, right? Because Cryogonal will knock, and this is also another misplay because I should have gone into Kyurem. Actually, what's better here? If Kyurem gets off damage, right, and we keep Cryogonal alive, then, okay, Cryogonal beats Moltres and Nidoking, right? And then all I have to do is get a little bit of damage off on Victini, and then I should be fine. So actually the most optimal play is actually to go into Zeraora and just click Close Combat, and then win the game out with Kyurem and Cryogonal. But yeah, we go for Freeze Dry, putting this thing into Close Combat range, and then we go into Zera. As he Sucker Punches, there's no point in risking going for Bulk Up. Like, that's just a bad... Like, there's literally no point. I can't risk that. And then here, the thing is, he basically two-shots us with V-Create, so I'm kind of forced to just stay in a knockoff, and then hope that Kyurem can close this game out. Now, let's think about it. What if we went into Zera, went for Close Combat, right, and then lost Zera? What would have happened? Then we go into Cryogonal, right? We knock our Shifu with, what's the move called? Freeze Dry. And then he goes into King, right? As we pivot into, Kyurem. And then we go for Shadow Ball spam, right? Because we know Moltres has weakness policy. And then as soon as he goes into Moltres, we can pivot back into Cryogonal. And then between Cryogonal and Kyurem, we win the game. But sacking off Cryogonal is a huge issue, because Cryogonal has Haze, so it allows me to beat Galarian Moltres. So now he V-creates, and now we go into Kyurem. As you go for Substitute, I try to pressure stall this, but then I realize I can't pressure stall it, so I Roost. And then I realized that, wait a second, the roll that he got earlier was actually a low roll, so then I have to Shadow Ball here, and then he goes King, I get off Roost. This goes for Earth Power, and then I 1v1 this King pretty easily. Also, Sludge Bomb, 30% poison every time, so yeah. And now, at this point, all he has to do is set up a Nasty Play and he wins, right? Because Freeze Dry doesn't do that much. So yeah, that's what we go for. So I go for Roosts, right? So basically my goal is to Roost up, right? And then go for Shadow Ball, lower Special Defense twice, and hope he doesn't go for a Nasty Plot. So yeah, that's what we do. But then he flinches once. He flinches again, and now, the Pokemon that was my favorite Pokemon to use in VGC has, like, beaten me. And this is also my first game that I've dropped this entire season. And this is also the first kind of close game I've had this entire season, except for week 2. So, you know, perfect season's gone, and we also could be out in quarters as the 1 seed against the 4th seed, which isn't ideal. So we go into game 3. I lead Victini again, right? Because it's a consistent lead into him. I go for U-turn, and this time I go straight into Milotic, knowing that Milotic beats it. Goes for Whirlpool, doesn't matter, right? And then we just Toxic. He Stealth Rocks. I just go for Scalds. Yeah. And there's no point. And yeah, I just beat this. And then I go into Cryogonal just in case he goes for Strength Sap, so I can remove the hazards. It doesn't really matter. Nightshade, because this damage actually doesn't even matter to me. So he goes into Victini. I go into my own Victini as he goes for a Fusion Bolt. Yeah, I thought he'd predict the Milotic. Even if I switched in Milotic, it was fine. I just wanted to save the recovers for the Urshifu matchup, so yeah. And here he goes into King as I go for Thunder Wave. And now I know that I have to weaken King if I want any of my other mons to beat it afterwards, right? Like if I get up Webs and King is like at this health, then it's really good for me. So yeah, we just go for that, and then I go into Cryogonal. I'm faster than it, right? So I just go for Freeze Dry, I think. Oh no, I go for Defog, right? Because Flamethrower doesn't two-shot. And here I go into Milotic again. The job here is to get a burn off on Ferrothorn. That's all I need. Because if I get a burn off, then Kyurem can just pressure stall it. So he goes for Body Press. That doesn't do that much. And then he goes for Scalds, right? He'll go for Scald, and this time we get the burn. So that's really good. Body Press is half powered. Gyro Ball, I don't think it, like, Gyro Ball is like really weak now. So we just recover. And now, since he's burned, Gyro Ball's not going to do that much into Slurpuff, and I only really need Slurpuff now to set up webs. And I want to keep Milotic at good health. So I go into Slurpuff as he goes for Body Press, and here, do I go for webs? No, I go for Flamethrower because I want to surprise him. Because if he switches into Nidoking, right, then I can go for Sticky Webs on a Sludge Wave, take it with the Kebia Berry, right? And then because of Unburden, I'll be faster and knock it out with Flamethrower. So now I go for Flamethrower to go for Gyro Ball, and then this turn, since he used Explosion last time, right? I feel like he's going to Explosion now, and even if he doesn't Explosion, I want Webs up. So yeah, he explosions. And now this is really good, right? Feral Thorn is gone, Nidoking is weakened. So Zera is opened up. Kyurem is pretty opened up, right? Because I can pressure stall the Victini. And then Milotic beats Urshifu. So we should have this game. And Cryogonal's there for Galarian Moltres. So now I go straight into Cryogonal. What does he go for? Air Slash. Okay. Yeah, now I go for Recover. If he goes for a Nasty Plot, we should be fine. And here I go for Freeze Dry, right? Yeah, because the thing about this is if I activate his weakness policy, right, I only need a little bit of damage off on Galarian Moltres so Zeraora knocks it out. And if I activate his weakness policy and he goes for agility, the thing is that he doesn't even two-shot, so he literally needs 2 flinches in a row, which is a 4% chance, and I can just haze it off. And after I haze it off, I'm free to click any super effective attack into Moltres as I wish. So yeah, he goes into Victini, I go for Freeze Dry. At this point, I don't need Slurpuff. So I just actually, oh no, I go into Milotic. Okay, that was a bad play because I really don't need Slurpuff in this game anymore. Like it doesn't achieve anything, right? Because even like Urshifu's like is checked by Milotic, and Slurpuff doesn't even switch into 2 Wicked Blows. So terrible play, but because now we waste a Recover, and again this PP is important. So then I go for Recover, and this is actually good that he goes into Shifu. Because now we go for Wicked Blow. And also in game 2, remember when Shifu dodged the Will-O-Wisp? If he didn't dodge the Will-O-Wisp, then Milotic would have lived there. And I could have also used I could have also set up on it with Zeraora. So, some things to keep in mind. And then he Wicked Blows, I go for a Scald, hoping to get burned, but it doesn't really matter. Now this is in close combat range. As now I just go for Recovers, right? Because, okay, his play was actually to close combat here because a crit close combat can knock me out, but Wicked Blow, since it always crits anyways, I'm like, this is a safe recover, so yeah. Yeah, this is like a very safe situation for me, but I'm losing out on recovers, right? I'm at 5, and now I go for Scald this turn because, like, I can get a Scald off. And it goes into Victini. And now I sack off Slurpuff, right? Yep. It's a good play, and then I get in Zeraora for free, and Zeraora claims a kill. And it can actually pretty much sweep. So now we go into Zera, we knock off the Nidoking. Again, that blue flare is crucial. And then he goes into Victini. We actually knocked this out. And then something happens. So in regular OU singles, Plasma Galarian Moltres runs max speed, max special attack, which means Zera or a Plasma Fish should always knock it out. But in draft, you don't normally run max speed. So Plasma Fist does not knock it out. I know he has weakness policy, so my place to go for knockoff and then go for Plasma Fist, and I should easily win this game, right? Because Milotic still beats Shifu in the back. And Kyurem can get off a hit with Freeze Dry. And Cryogonal is also able to live a Sucker Punch and get off a hit, so yeah. But instead I go for Plasma Fist. I don't even know what I'm thinking. Yeah, he gets Berserk, and then, obviously, and this is an issue, right? Because Moltres is faster than my entire team, and Kyurem comes in, and now he two-shots with Fiery Wrath, even though I'm really specially bulky. So basically, if he flinches, then he knocks out Kyurem, and Cryogonal, if he doesn't flinch Cryogonal, I knock him out, right? But then he can stall me out with he can stall Milotic out of recovers if he like basically what happens is that if Kyurem gets flinched and gets knocked out, right? Then Cryogonal doesn't get flinched. Then I freeze dry, knock this out. But then Urshifu comes in, knocks me out with Sucker Punch, right? And then Milotic comes in and doesn't have enough recovers to win the game. So it's a 20% chance for him to win the game. And dude, honestly, I thought I was gonna get flinched. Like, I'm not even caring. I was like mentally prepared to get flinched, but we don't. Cause I don't even know quarter curse. And then here, Sucker Punch doesn't knock me out, so my safest place to freeze dry. And we get a crit, but it really doesn't matter, right? Because if we don't knock him out with freeze dry, then Milotic is actually faster because of the webs, and then we just scald. And Cryogonal doesn't die to Sucker Punch either, so we're pretty set. And yeah, that's our playoffs quarterfinals. So we need to play a lot better in semis, but yeah, that's it.